Hi, welcome to another live cast from the Success with People Academy. I'm Trevor A. Smith, and I'll be your guide today as we look at this issue of continuing the development of our middle managers. So, I seem to be having some internet connectivity challenges today. My service provider is not where they normally are. So, um, things are going to be a little bit more challenging for me, but let's make it happen. That's part of the problem that we have as managers. We have to overcome issues. So let's look at our agenda. We promise you that we usually are here somewhere in the region of 30 minutes. We don't try to go further than that. Um, but we invite you to do some follow up with us so that we can carry the matter further, if you will. So, the context today is the whole issue of problem solving within the middle management or the management and the leadership areas as well. And so, we want to look at that issue. We want to look at some key problem solving competencies. We want to look at an assessment that was done by an individual who is called Sam, and to see what we can learn from that process. We also want to look at why this issue, why am I saying that analytical problem solving is the Achilles heel, the most vulnerable point for leaders and managers. And then why should there be some caution in using this assessment, this unique pathfinding Thinks Management 52 assessment? How should we use it to get best results? And as usual, we have our different lenses, um, little section, and somewhat bottom line actions. All right, so let's move the process forward. So the first question is, um, are you a middle manager, or do you manage middle managers? Um, how does it feel in that mid tier? Uh, there are challenges, information coming down, information that's supposed to go up. It's really challenging area. But do you feel in control, total control? Or do you sometimes feel as if you're in the middle of a whirlwind, you know, a tornado? Troops. And then what is your impression of your colleagues in the middle management tier? Is it fully functional? Um, what about the vision and mission and goals of senior leadership? Is it fully understood in the mid tier such that it can be executed in a practical way, harmonious, harmonious and forward-looking, resilient manner? Those are questions that are important. What about the bumps that must come? Are they fully anticipated? What's your risk management like? How does the team respond when things do not go as planned? And critically now, especially in this dialogue today, is how are problems approached? And stop there. Let me say approach, because if the approach is wrong, sometimes you might even get the right result. But then what happens when another problem comes? You really want to have a system, you want an approach that is correct, that's logical. So, I have stated and to do a lot of work with middle managers and supervisors. And for me, it's one of the most challenging roles in the organization because so much happens in that middle ground, in terms of making sure values are followed, making sure that the vision, that why that keeps you going, that's in place, making sure that goals are met, and yet still being also responsive to the needs of those that you would lead. It's a challenging area, but That's why we go about and get it done. And that's where the satisfaction comes, that despite all of these issues, we still are able to deliver. So, so to be effective in this role, you have to have a certain mindset, right? It's not everybody that can deliver effectively in the middle management supervisory area. Yeah. So there are some critical competencies that are required. And today we want to focus on one of them, though. Um, and this competence really, when we look at it, it seems to be, it goes beyond middle management, also up into the leadership tier. And it really is a factor that would set apart those who are extremely talented and who are going to be highly successful. So that competence is analytical problem solving. Analytical problem solving. How do we deal with the where, what, why, when, who? All of that is there. That's our context today. So this whole question of analytical problem solving, I'm going to crave your indulgence. I want to use this Sphinx, this pathfinding Sphinx Management 52 assessment. It's an assessment that was researched over a period of time where we identified 52 critical competencies that would be required to be successful as a manager. And within those 52 competencies, there's a further breakdown of 15 factors that contribute to the score, contribute to effective delivery of each of the 52 competencies. So if you can see, you're going to have a line of text that relates to 52 times 15. Can't do the math. But it says that this is a really powerful assessment. So as a middle manager, Sam is expected to display a range of problem-solving competencies. I'm just talking not the 52, no, just the problem-solving areas. So here are some others. And as you are listening to me, maybe you can do some introspection for yourself and for your team. Are they anticipating problems in the context of risk awareness, and risk assessment? Is there a culture for evidence-based and data-driven decision making? Yeah, or are we more intuitive? And by the way, the capacity to deliver evidence-based, data-driven decision making depends on your record keeping. So if the record keeping is faulty, then you're going to have issues. And if there is not a culture to trap data, collect information, then also being evidence-based and data-driven would be a challenge. So the next one, number 3, would be evaluating and analyzing a range of alternatives. So how do we make decisions? Remember, we talked about the approach to decision making is so critical, because if we do not look at the options, the pros and the cons, and to spend some time actually identifying what alternatives are there, we might not make good decisions. What about connecting the dots, seeing how these details impact the big picture, or how the big picture impacts these details? So we're not getting so bogged down in the weeds, that we can't go back to look at what it is that we're about and why is it that we are doing this. That's a challenge that we have, especially under the pressured mid-tier experience. Number 5, analyzing current procedures with a view to improving them. So sometimes, I think last week, last week, we looked at the issue of taking charge when not in charge. So we're saying then that sometimes in the mid-tier, the feeling is this is beyond my pay grade. So we see a process or a procedure That's not working the way it ought to, but we are thinking, no, that's not us. I'm not here as an organization development professional consultant. Yeah, they should be smart enough to see this. But that's important. That's part of the task that we have if we're going to be effective managers. And then the sixth one is recognizing and accurately evaluating the nature of a problem. So that's the first thing they tell you again in problem solve. You need to define the problem. Sometimes what we're solving is not the problem. And so those are some of the competencies that are required. Challenging, challenging. So let us look at this assessment. This is a extract from Sam's report as it relates to analytical problem solving. As you can see, the report goes into some detail with respect to each competence. This is just the heading, the competence, to understand the competence. And then there are 15 line items that go towards the competency match score. So Sam didn't do well here. He only had a 27% match with the ideal. All right. So the algorithm has set up to say, hey, if you were to deliver and to be able to demonstrate all of these competencies in the way that we have defined them, then you get 100% match. Some of these areas, he's not so comfortable delivering them. So seeing how a problem and solution will affect other units, gathering information before making decisions, weighing alternatives against objectives and arriving at reasonable decisions, adapting well to changing priorities, deadlines and directions. That's part of the thing. So where do I go now? Okay, yesterday you told me to do this. Now this is a how do I prioritize? How do I deal with different deadlines and to make sure that things still get done? Those are competencies that are required. So working to eliminate all processes which do not add value. That's it. That's part of your cost saving. That's part of your efficiency. But sometimes in the mid-tier, we do not think that those are parts. That's a part of our responsibility. Recognizing and accurately evaluating the signs of a problem. Hey, is this trending towards an issue that maybe I should deal with it now before it becomes a problem? Analyzing current procedures for possible improvements. We talked about that. Notifying supervisor of problems in a timely manner. Sometimes we wait until the problem is far gone before we alert people that could help. So those are some of the competencies where some didn't do so well. But we want to dig deeper, and that's part of how we are suggesting that you use this magnificent assessment. Go to those 15 items. So we could look at it. So here you're saying, Sam, okay, you scored 27% with respect to analytical problem solving. Why? Why, Sam? What is it? And so there are these 15 items. In the interest of time, I haven't listed them here. But here's what I'm suggesting. When we coach and advise people, we are saying, do not take on everything at once. Sam, if you're going to develop, and move, get better in this area, or if you're HR, don't load Sam with the 15 items. I usually suggest 3, maximum 4 areas that you focus on, maybe for 3 months or so, and then continue to work towards success in the area. So I have picked out from Sam's report 3 areas that I think would make a big difference in his capacity for analytical problem solving. One of them is identifying and analyzing essential information. What is so critical about this, or so important? In this age, data, we have too much, we have information overload. So Sam needs to be able to look at the stream of information coming to him and to be able to say, okay, fine, this is important, this is less important, this is very important, and to then focus his attention on analyzing that set of information. Then, of course, he needs to work on well thought out decisions based on detailed analysis. So by now understanding which information is important and analyzing it, he can then make better decisions. And then going back to the whole question of the approach. The approach is so important. So he should look at what is the best approach to solving this problem. What are the alternative routes and which is the best one? So that's basically what I would suggest that Sam, his HR department, and his manager should work on as he moves to get better at analytical problem solving. Remember, there's a chat feature. If there's something that you want to add or suggest, you can pop it in the chat. I have my colleague on who will draw it to our attention. All right. So, Sam. So we are looking at it and we're saying, my, I hope I don't have any Sams in my middle management team because that score is ridiculous. How could he be employed? Well, wait. Sam is not alone. Sam is not alone. This issue of analytical problem solving is really an issue across levels. I'm suggesting to you, based on my experience working with these in this area, that the capacity for critical thinking and logical and systematic accessing processes, or processing information with short supply, is not a skill or competence that is widely available. It's certainly not innate. It's not something that we're born with. This capacity to look at information critically. We have a course, actually, a full course of how to improve your critical thinking impact, and so on. I'll show it to you now. So let's not beat down on Sam. As a matter of fact, let's deepen the process. Because when we look at some of the other 52 competencies as it relates to thinking and processing, here are some others. Conceptual strategic thinking. Even the title of the, of the competence is scary. Right? Selective approach to gathering information. Well, we understand that. Logical decision making, logical problem solving, and then judgment. Judgment is an issue as well. You might have the data, but still, when you analyze it, your judgment might not be there. And that is why gentleman to the right is scratching his head, because it's not easy. So how are you or your colleagues doing with respect to these additional competencies? Let's pause for a moment and reflect on that. Yeah, it's not an easy road, right? But also, before you beat up on Sam and to say, hey, Sam is a loser, he's a lost cause, remember now things like resilience, future readiness, change management, innovation, creativity. Those are high priorities in this post-COVID, post-disruption era. Yeah. But look at Sam. Sam, for embracing change, his competence match is 70%. Very good. His enhancing creativity score is 75%. But also, look at other areas. Influencing others at 88%. In other words, this is the ideal score, would be 100, and Sam is 88 in terms of influencing others, 73% in terms of intuitive problem solving. So he might still be able to solve the problems, although he's not using the analytical approach. So Sam actually could be a man for this season. Bottom line here is, don't just look at one aspect. And we strongly recommend that as you use this Think Management 52 competency assessment from Extended Disc, that you look at not just the executive summary, but also the details, the 15 items that go towards a score with respect to each competence. That is how you would get the depth, because then you can say, let's work on these 3, let's work on these 4, and maybe the next quarter I work on another set. That's how developmental this approach is. I love to have diagnostics as a guide for development. Everything that we do, any training, we really strongly recommend do some diagnostics before, because it's better to diagnose before you prognose. All right. So This is a feature that we have in our presentations, this question of different lenses, which is just a period that we just ask you to stop, just put away everything, and just do a period of reflection with us. What if we looked at the issue of analytical problem solving from another perspective? Yeah, that just stop to think, how important is this really? Is this not central to effective management on a day-to-day basis? Yeah. Or is this something for the strategic guy, the organization development guys? No. Isn't this really front and central? Isn't this something that your supervisors and your middle managers or your leaders, isn't it a competence that should be a required competence? So what if we appreciated the fact that it's not innate? People are just not born. You don't just come and be, you know, excellent at this. So yes, some of us might have a tendency towards that. You know, maybe some of our C style individuals, you know, who have an orientation might have a tendency towards that. But yet still there are some technical competencies, some technical skills that go into being able to do it. Yeah. What if you accepted that most of us, frankly, I I shudder to think how I come out against these 52 competencies are in this particular area. So most of us don't even recognize that we might struggle with the issue of analytical problem solving. We just kind of go with the gut and yeah, intuitive, like Sam. So why not take action? Why not take action? Yeah. I'm suggesting that you learn more about the Things Management 52 Competence Assessment from Extended Disc, right? Contact me. I am open to just have a conversation. You don't even have to make a commitment. Right? But if you want to take action, you can just set up a personal or group assessment. Right now, we have a license if you have a large cohort of middle managers and supervisors. So we can do that. And also, you can check out the option for a facilitator. I will work with your team. I will do a debriefing, training, coaching. We have this full course that you see on the right, how to improve critical thinking, influence, and impact. It's a wonderful interactive um, online program that we have, and we can also, you know, include supervisors. I'm sorry, facilitation in it. But here's a point I want to suggest to you, that you're looking at it and you can see that this could impact your decision making, your capacity to manage across, you know, these 52 areas. Yes, sure, you might go to your HR department and you might try to do it, but what if you decided that this is something that you wanted to invest in yourself? You know, it's $70. 70 US. Is it worth it for you to just send us an email? We send you back the links. We have the exchange of the $70, and you have clarity as to 52 times 17 areas in which you can enhance your career, enhance your capacity to deliver. So maybe you don't want to wait. Maybe you just want to say, I will take charge of my life, my career, and do something about it now. So even as we're talking here, I'm not going to be insulted if you start to put in info as success with people. Just put the heading Management 52, and we will take it from there. But seriously, we're here as well to talk to groups where we can actually work with groups. If you want to have a group discussion, you can set up a meeting link there, meetings.hubspot.com slash Trevor-Smith4. So that's a suggestion that I would want to put on the table. But it's also just want to talk to me. I'm there. WhatsApp me. 1-876-535-6677. Happy to talk to you about what this means and how it can work for you. But you can see from the information that we shared with the assessment from Sam that there is a top level where you see a competence, And then below it would be 15 other lines that would help you to identify what it is to work on. Sometimes when we have our discussion in terms of our reviews, we are saying, hey, Trevor, you need to work on this and, work on this, Trevor, work on that. But in my mind, I don't have a clue what you mean. And so the next time we come back to a review, the same thing comes up. What if you could show me objectively that, Trevor, here are 15 areas related to this particular competence. You do well with some of these, but some of these are challenges. I want you to work on this one, this one, this one. Yeah, that makes sense. Now we have an objective assessment that can identify specifically how I can improve. Now it's up to me, because the next time, a couple of weeks on, we have a team meeting, or we, talking in the corridor. I'm saying, hey, Trevor, how are we working on this line item? What's happening with that? Oh, Trevor, I was reading an article, and it dealt with this line item that we're working on. I've shared it with you. Let's have a discussion around it. That's the way that we can actually practically move forward. Yeah. Or, Trevor, you are, on the upward trajectory. I know that Trevor works with persons in that area. Let's do an assessment and have him do a debrief, half an hour session with you, where he identifies blind spots, limiting factors, and sets you on the path. How does that work for you, Trevor? Great, I love it. Let's set it up. So that's where kinds of actions that you can take. So you might be saying, who are these people? Well, we are SHRM recertification providers, which means that we can offer professional development credits that can be applied to the SHRM CP or SCP recertification. Bottom line, that really means that we have processes that are of international standard, right? And we work with a cross section of high stakes organizations internationally. The Success with People Academy is also heavily engaged in human capacity development, and we like to infuse technology into all that we do so that it's more efficient, we can go into greater depth, and we can facilitate things much more easily. We have strong technologies, including our Spike performance management, governance, and compliance, multifaceted compliance and learning platform that's heavily used, or put it this way, it is, heavily used in some financial institutions to help them with their compliance management and their training and development, right? So that's an area that you might want to have a discussion about. We, of course, coach leadership professionals and develop high-performing teams. The assessments that come from THINKS and Extended DISC are used to help individuals or companies get away from bad hires. So we help them to find the right fit for each role. So why not give me a shout? Send me an email, info@successwithpeople.org, or you can actually, as I said, give me a call on WhatsApp and 1-876-535-6677, and we can talk about it. So, as promised, we don't keep you much longer than the 30 minutes. Thank you. I'm going to make this recording available to you so that you can share with your colleagues, with your talent managers, and take action yourself. Going right back to that. Is it worth $70 for you to have clarity as to how you can advance your career, be more successful as a manager and as a leader across 15 areas of well-researched competencies and the items that support that competence. Thank you. That's all today. All the best.